Today I'm looking at a score by Christian Wolff. It's called For One, Two, or Three People. This is a publication of it by C.F. Peters, and some sort of like stamp on every page. Conservatoire National Supérieur de Musique et de Danse de Paris. So, um, Paris Conservatoire, I guess, is where this was photocopied. Don't know how it came into my possession. There's two really dense pages of instructions, and then the score itself looks kind of interesting. It's got a lot of different symbols to decipher, and each page is numbered with a Roman numeral, it looks like, with the last one being number 10. My mistake, it's not in 10 movements, it's in 10 parts. So the performance can be made up of any number of them. So yeah, it's more modular than what I was thinking. Each part or page is a score, and each player should have a copy of it. Okay, so it is kind of like a score then. I don't know why he's calling them parts, because functionally it's like a modular piece of 10 scores. Okay. Play all that is notated on the page in any convenient sequence, not repeating anything except for 9, where any of the events can be played or omitted any number of times. So that explains why everything's sort of spatially arranged on the page. It's like a bunch of tiny things, and there's no set way to read. You can move around the page any way you want. Number 10, or sorry, number 9 looks like this, like a little bit sparser. So I guess that one you have the option to omit things. So you could have a silent page if you wanted, I guess. Because it says any number of things. Just omit all of it. Black notes are variously short, up to about 1 second. Um, if it's a 16th note, it's very short, kind of like a grace note. White notes can be of any length. So this is something we saw in our previous Wolff score. Pairs, I think, was one we were looking at. So there's like basically notes that are on the shorter side, and then notes that can be as long as you want. A dynamic indication may stand by itself, and crescendo and diminuendo should always be applied to a note already given. So they need starting and ending dynamics basically. But you can pull dynamics from various parts of the score, I guess. Diagonal lines direct your attention towards different areas of the page, so you need to follow them. So say you play, I don't know, this low note here, it goes to a 2, then you have to go kind of in this direction of the page. So I think that's what that's doing. A small number at the end of the line uh, equals a coordinate with the second sound. If a line to a note is broken by a number followed after a colon, so for example 2:0, that number of seconds of silence intervene before the next coordination. So kind of like instead of following lines immediately, other lines there's a delay written into them, and it can be in any number of seconds, I guess. So pretty versatile notation. I don't think he's going wild with it. I think for the most part, if you see one of those, it's like a couple seconds. Here's a 7-second one. Okay, if you see a little like X or fish shaped thing uh, at the end of a line, you have to coordinate whatever you're doing there with another player. So all of these ones, similar to the previous paragraph, they're sort of telling you how to coordinate your sounds with the sounds of other people. So we're getting a little bit more complicated now. Horizontal lines joining two notes, legato from one note to the other, Yeah, if no lines lead to a particular note, you can start that note at any time. Uh, so those are sort of like your starting areas if you're beginning a phrase. Uh, yeah, one, two, or three people can play. Then there's some practicalities of the solo performance. If two or three play, the material on the page should be distributed between them. No material marked off for one player should be played by another. In the case of movement 9, that makes sense. And in movement 7, two players are preferred. Some notes are on stave, so then you have to play indicated pitch, reading in either treble or bass clef. This was something we saw in Pairs, later work of his. Numbers and colored numbers, so like ink, variably indicates like, two notes with different timbres, things like that. So you probably need an instrument that can play more than one note at the same time. I think you can imagine a way to do that on most any instrument. And then numbers, when they're on lines that go between notes, those indicate changes in timbre. Then we got all these symbols to go through. These actually indicate like what your sound should be kind of like. So, for example, the diamond indicates that it should be like a harmonic of some kind. So the fundamental of your sound is gone. I would assume that's what that means. If it's a asterisk, it should be a noise. So there should be a lot of noise content in harmonic spectra. These I don't think are worth going through in detail because they're just like, you know, very clear. You just have to get to know them. I think the more complicated thing is like going back and forth between this and the first page and figuring out like, okay, what am I doing here or there? I guess one thing that makes it easier is it's kind of open which pages you use. So maybe you just rehearse together as a group with one page and you don't really bother to get to know everything. Um, just glancing at them, like the second one introduces pauses. There's a 7-second pause, as I mentioned before, and it seems to have more like timbral indications than the first page. The third page has a lot of like square looking graphemes. It has a 15-second pause on one of the things, and a couple like there's more silences introduced. I see a lot of 7-second pauses in this one. The fourth one is very angular and it's kind of in rows. So that's kind of interesting. It kind of directs you to go forward and then backward, or just reading through one row at a time. Um, so there's some sort of like repetition of ideas going on in this one, I think. Number 5 is spaced out a little bit more generously, but it has a lot of information to get through. It also has a 15-second pause, and yeah. And then 6, we have a lot of these like timbral symbols. So there's a lot of like specific, like I forget what I didn't really read what these things meant, but has a lot of these like a sound using metal, a sound using wood, a sound involving friction, so like things like that. That's what characterizes 6. So that's kind of interesting. And then 7 is again back. This is the one I may have misspoke earlier. This is the one I think that is intended for two people. See, there's a big number 1 and a big number 2. So the two players are supposed to kind of like approach the score from different sides and probably read from, I mean, it's really encouraging you to read from left to right. 8, it's got a lot of, I mean, it's also kind of in 3 rows, and it's got a lot of specific indications about the sound as well as like timbral changes indicated. 9, this is one where you can omit stuff. It's really sparse looking and has a really weird specific indication here. bow on metal or glass. And then 10, again, I've seen lots of specific sound indications, some interesting dynamic markings like a triple like a fortissimo, as well as a lot of like just singular note heads. So just like a note on the page randomly. So this one might be a bit more scattered. This is not it does not seem to be an unpopular one. I think people like this score, so I'll see you all in 5 minutes. Okay, so I listened to that little 4 minute recording. I thought it was really in keeping with the style of the New York school, and the piece sounded very pointillistic, as one would expect. But I do think that just based on what he actually says in the notation, it could sound very different, and you could make the piece sound like you could interpret it all kinds of ways. I do think that historically that interpretation makes the most sense. Just do it kind of pointillistically and kind of atonal sounding with silences. The silences have their own sort of tension about them because it's like there's only certain places where the performers can start from nothing, and as they continue through the score, they run out of options. So um, it's like, okay, who's going to start the next thing? Like we got to play through all of this. So it's almost like a little puzzle unfolding in front of you, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I really was trying to put myself in the headspace of the performer, like what would it be like performing this? And I think it is a unique, dynamic kind of score.